Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today we're going to be talking about the warm line, and we're going to have one of the volunteers on the show that's going to share his experience why it's important to volunteer and get back to the community. So get you something to drink and get a snack and come on back. So, JDD, thank you so much for taking the time out on the weekend to be a guest on our show. Why don't we start off with you just kind of introducing yourself and just tell a little bit about who you are?
So I'm Jay Dee, and uh, I've been volunteering with the Warm Line since May of 2015.
Oh, wow, nice.
And let's see, so that's the Warm Line is part of suicide prevention and early intervention,
Yes.
which my heart is very much into.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm trying to do in my life is kind of try to figure out how to get more involved with suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Also, part of what I've been doing since '03 is public speaking,
Yeah.
disability awareness regarding my blindness.
Okay. Wow.
And I've done a little bit of public speaking. I want to do more public speaking about mental health stuff, but one of the issues is getting comfortable telling my story.
Well, this is definitely the right platform for
Yes.
you to tell your story, so we're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about how did you actually get involved with the Warm Line?
So I was at the APS Bowling Clinic, Adult Psychiatric Support Services Clinic, on Bowling back in 2012, 2013. Started hearing about the Warm Line, and so started to understand, okay, this is sort of a non-crisis line that would have been great when I was reaching out for help in 1989,
Yeah.
looking for resources, and without having to call the hotline, because it's like I don't want to tell people I'm in crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because and there's some stigma there, that it's like, oh, that could be part of my public speaking presentation. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. So found out about it and just got, started hearing more and more about, okay, what is the Warm Line? And then I started asking about how to get connected, and here I am.
Okay, wow. Awesome, awesome. So just talk a little bit about what do you actually do at the Warm Line?
So I mostly handle calls
Okay.
coming in on the phone.
Okay. And so you talk to different callers who maybe just want to vent or they just want to just check in to see just talk a little bit about the audience that call in.
So yeah, that's a lot of callers, like you said, want to vent,
Yeah.
or what I like is being a part of a kind of a comparing notes team.
Yeah.
Just one-on-one, using each other as a sounding board, and I'm kind of providing a service, and it's their call.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my image of why it's the consumer operated Warm Line
Yeah.
is that I have a little bit of my story to share too, and so when, I can kind of, with experience, figure out what pieces of my story might help
Yeah.
the caller. And some people, so it's a non-crisis line,
Yeah.
but some people are closer to crisis,
Yeah.
than other people, and so I have a handy paper braille next to me that, if they're in crisis and I need to give out the suicide hotline number, I have it right there, so I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Even though I know it by heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I like to stress to callers too when I say that it's a non-crisis line. Just because somebody's in crisis doesn't mean that I won't talk to them.
Exactly.
I might if they're in crisis, I do need I have to refer them, but it doesn't mean I'll quit talking to them.
Yeah. And for those of us that are watching, I mean, for those of people who are watching this program, the Consumer Operated Warm Line is located at Cal Voices, formerly known as NorCal Mental America, formerly known as Mental Health America. And so I know that they're always looking for volunteers in the Warm Line and the Old Adult program. And so let's talk a little bit about why it's important, in your opinion, to volunteer and give back to the community, especially for this particular program.
So giving back to the community is just part of who I am. I mean,
Yeah.
it's super important to me to feel like I'm a productive part of my society.
Yeah.
I've been given so much in my life.
That's awesome.
Most, especially during childhood. Actually, during childhood, both because of my blindness and because of emotional health issues.
Yeah.
And as adult, a lot of resources regarding my mental health stuff, and a lot of give and take when
Yeah.
I'm out and about as a pedestrian or running errands or whatever. A lot of really, really helpful people who, might not know how, like the right questions to ask me
Yeah.
regarding how to help me
Yeah.
regarding my blindness.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's important too. Because there are people who may be out here in society who may want to help people, whether they older adult, whether they may have mental health issues, or maybe they may be blind, and they may be scared or afraid to ask certain questions because they may not want to offend the person, or they
Right.
may not be educated enough to articulate the information or to articulate the questions
Yes.
to be able to help the person. What would you say to people like that?
I frequently have to figure out what to say.
Okay.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
But for the most part, just saying hi
Yeah.
lets me know you're there,
Okay.
and gives me an opportunity to ask a question if I need to.
Okay.
Sometimes asking, if you think I need help, then asking, is there a way I can help you? That type of thing can be useful.
Yeah, so just so asking the person, hey, how can I help you?
Yeah,
Or do you need help?
do
Yeah.
you need help, or even just hi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've heard sometimes people, they just spring into action. They just automatically
Right.
drop something. They just automatically, without even acknowledging you as a person or acknowledging the person.
Yes.
And sometimes people get offended by that.
I do.
Okay, so I'm on the right track.
I do. And so yeah, we have to stop and have this little discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
About you don't need to put your hands on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, it's so hard from my perspective because 99% of the time their hearts are in the right place. They really want to help, and they
Yeah.
don't really have the time or capacity sometimes to listen to what I need. And
Okay.
so it's just like, stop. If I'm taking too long to tell you what I need, just, say, okay,
Yeah.
good luck or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you understand the people that's actually out there just trying to help you.
Really, really trying to help me, yes.
Okay. Okay. That's important. It's very important. And I like that you said that sometimes they may not have the time because they may be on the way to a point, they may be
Of
late, and they
course.
just may want to just kind of help you and then get the moving. But it's good that you acknowledge that and you don't take it personally.
It's hard not to take it personally, but at the end of the day, when I'm able to look back at it, I'm like, I wish I hadn't been so irritable. you know?
Yeah. What's some of the stigma that's surrounding that you know of somebody who doesn't have their sight? Let's talk a little bit about some of the stigma that's surrounded by that particular disability per se.
I'm not sure about stigma. Well, there's the expectations of what blind people can and can't do,
Okay.
which can be either limiting or can expect too much. And so in that sense, it could be stigmatizing or at least stressful on both sides.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really concerned about my handling stairs.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, my legs work?
Yeah.
Because of some of the side effects of my medication, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm having more trouble now with stairs than I used to.
Yeah.
But, because of my blindness, my legs work pretty well.
Yeah.
Handle stairs fine. And so as I go up and down stairs, I make a really conscious effort to keep my hand either off the railing altogether or under the railing,
Okay.
so that people might see me using it as a guide,
Yeah.
but not for balance.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is a personal question I
Sure.
want to know because I've never ever had this answered. Is it true that, like in your case, because you don't have your sight, does your other senses actually work better or work at another level because of the loss of your sight, or is that just like a myth?
Well, it is a myth, but where it, there's the kernel of truth in it is that, like if you close your eyes, you might start noticing some things. Sometimes I ask people to, close your eyes and put your hand up next to your ear and just listen to your voice bouncing off your ear or off your hand.
Yeah.
And that's, echolocation.
Okay.
And the thing is that what I tell people is my hearing is probably the same as everybody else's hearing in the room, or most people's hearing in the room. But I have to pay attention to those sound cues and the things I feel with my white cane.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people discover, when they pay attention, oh yeah, I can hear some stuff that I didn't realize I could hear. And I have to use it. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jay Dee, you definitely, in my opinion, you're a role model because you
Thank you.
have not allowed your loss of sight to hinder you from having a productive life.
Right.
And you get back to community.
I'm constantly looking for more challenges without overextending myself. That's part of my mental health story is learning not to overextend myself.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And why wasn't it? Because there are a lot of people who may have a physical or a mental disability, for lack of better terms, who don't feel like that they can get out and do things that is meaningful in society. Why is that for you not the way to go in your case? And what would you say to people like that?
That's hard. It's really hard to find a fit for whether it's our mental health conditions or our physical challenges. It can be really hard to find a fit to feel productive in mainstream society. In a lot of cases, we find ways to involve ourselves in disability awareness or advocacy, education, but ultimately, it would, ideally, it would be great if mainstream just included everybody with disabilities, so there really wasn't this
Yeah.
concept of disability.
Yeah, or separation.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay. So, JD, so what was it like for you growing up with not having sight and things like that? Like, what was it like for you growing up? Like, do you have any siblings and?
Oh, okay. So one of the things I like to mention is that when I was about 4, I went into a foster home for children with both emotional and physical disabilities,
Okay.
and was there for about 3 years.
Okay.
And I call those 3 years the happiest 3 years of my childhood.
Okay.
There was a lot of, it's really hard to talk about this part of my story, the childhood stuff that I believe led to a lot of my mental health issues.
Okay.
By the time I was a teenager, most of the harsh atmosphere was out of my life, but I am still, I've reached the half-century mark, and I'm still in my dream work, which I pay attention to. I am still making progress in kind of transforming that negative energy from early childhood, into something more positive. So yeah, I do have a sister and 4 stepbrothers,
Okay, wow.
and 2 ex-stepbrothers and 2 former foster sisters, and
Wow, you have a lot of people. Do you communicate, stay in contact with these people, or?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Definitely, getting to know my sister. We did not grow up together.
Now this is the sister by your mom and dad, your blood sister?
Mother,
Okay, yeah, okay.
my bio mom.
Okay.
And her name's Jean. She died in '09.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my dad died in '07. I still stay in some contact with my what I like to call my good stepmother. Her name's Sheila,
Yeah.
and she's my dad's 3rd wife, and she's an important support for me. We don't stay in contact a lot during the year,
Yeah.
but when we talk, it's very close, very caring about
Yeah.
each other, very nourishing.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you talked about childhood, because I've just was sharing on the last show that I did a little bit about what's going on with my family. But I had a very dysfunctional childhood, just, the whole 9 yards. And, one thing I'm grateful for is because of your childhood, you did not allow that to dictate you from having a full, productive and fulfilling life. Because, some people, even like myself, I've had family members, especially like brothers and and other family members who allowed the functionality and the environment to, for whatever reason, not allow them to go forth in life. It's kind of like they're just stuck. It's like, okay, I grew up like this is the way my life's supposed to be, because my uncle life was like this, my grandma life was like this, because my mother life was like my father. And sometimes, people are not strong enough to pull themselves out,
Yeah.
and they just stay there. And it's like, I was just talking to, and just to be honest, my brother about a month ago, and I'm telling him, like, look, like, you got a daughter, like, you're not doing nothing with your life. Like, you don't have a job, you stay at home with mom, you don't do nothing for yourself. Like, what is this? Like, you know, we've all came from the same household. We come from the same environment. We've all had the same exact chances. The difference between you and I is, I never want this to be my life, and it's not my life. And it's kind of like with them, I feel like they just accepted this life that was dealt to them, and I have a hard time with that. I really struggle with that inwardly because, not that I judge them and I don't look down on them. I've given my brother money to buy his daughter clothes and to, to do things. My mother, help my family out a lot, but I just have a hard time with that because I know that you can pull yourself out of this and make a better life for yourself. That's why I struggle with it, because I've done it. Now, had I not done it, then it may be more difficult for me to see light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But I don't understand it sometimes, and it's just, so I have to pull myself back.
And something you said a little during the previous interview about when you're on the job, you didn't phrase it quite this way, but something I've heard is your outside problems, you leave it at the door.
Oh, I definitely leave it at the door, for sure.
And so we kind of have to put on a mask. So that kind of leads me into something else I wanted to say about volunteering with the warm line. When I wake up on Monday mornings, my head can be in a really not so good place.
Yeah.
Not as bad before I 2014, which is when I got on the right dose of the right mood stabilizer.
Yeah.
But still, I've after about a year and a half of volunteering with the warm line, I started realizing that after a couple of hours, having the structure of the warm line on Mondays is just really, really helpful for me to get out of my head.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm glad that I still get to share some of my experience, kind of what I'm going through. Some callers will ask me, how are you doing on such and such?
Yeah.
And so I'll try to keep it brief because it's limited time on on their call. But most of leaving it at the door really has some healing value.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely right. And for me, I think it's important too. It's not fair to my employer for me to bring our personal problems in to a job that these people are paying me for.
And certainly not fair to our callers if we're burdening them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think over the years I've tried to, or made an attempt to teach or try to train my staff on this, but still be sympathetic and compassionate towards whatever's going on outside of work. But at the same time, try to balance it out a little bit, and just train them and teach them how to be able to multitask mentally, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
When I'm working with in-home supportive services providers, my IHSS workers, that's kind of what I have to do is let them know that, okay, I kind of want to know a little bit about what's going on outside your life because, in as far as it might affect me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't want to be, insensitive, but you're here on my time.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I was talking with somebody who had a criminal background. This is a while back. And the person was telling me that they share it with people at work. And so my thing was, I'm like, well, why would you share that with people at work? First of all, that's not nobody's business. Number two, that's very, very personal, personal to me. But the person, he couldn't understand why I was trying to encourage him to use wisdom with sharing personal stuff at work. And this guy, he could not understand it. So at that point, I just kind of backed off. But he thought he was doing a great thing. He felt he was keeping it real. He felt he was being transparent.
Right.
But I felt like, okay, well, this is not my job to tell you how to or what to share. But I just think you need to use wisdom about sharing personal stuff at work, And this is from everybody, You know, it wasn't like you got one friend that you can confide in to everybody. You know, so yeah, so that's what I try to teach people, especially my staff, and just be conscious of what you share. I can't stop you from sharing, but
Yeah.
you have to be professional and things like that. But
That's it, is kind of having, and I don't know where I, over the years kind of picked up what does that mean, kind of a professional,
yeah,
and yet still come across as compassionate, because
yeah,
one thing that, people who know me, one thing they know is that I care very, very deeply.
yeah,
Sometimes too much.
yeah,
But at the same time, have to keep it professional.
yeah, yeah,
So kind of, what does that mean?
yeah,
Just keep paying attention to the professionals and see what you want to, because people can be over business-like, right?
yes,
So you kind of have to balance it, which
yeah.
which part of the professionalism do you want and which part don't you want, and
Yeah.
that's a journey for everybody.
Yeah, I think professionalism in my terminology is just keeping in mind that you're here at work. You
Yeah.
know, your work life and your personal life should have two different values in your life. Your personal life is well, let me say this. All of it is a part of your life. It's part of your makeup, because you're going to a job 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. That's a huge part of who you are. But also, you're not getting paid in your personal life. You're getting paid in your professional life. So it's, in a sense, they sometimes intertwine if you allow it to. But if you're like me, you know how to keep it separate.
Yeah.
And that's important, because I don't like everybody working on my business.
Yeah.
I just I don't want to lay all my cards on the table. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to know. You need to know the person I present to you, and the person I present to you is the person that you guys are paying me to be here.
Yeah.
Now, outside of work, I mean, I'm still who I am at work.
I'm real.
Right.
Right.
If I may, so I may share some my personal life with them that I may not share with people at work. So I try to keep that fine line, so to speak.
Yeah.
If I'm going through some stuff, if I'm in a bad mood or bad space, most likely I'm not going to tell nobody at work.
As far as volunteering in a position like dealing with suicide prevention and early intervention, I do want to point out, we're talking about keeping it professional, leaving your stuff at home and all that, but also with stressful calls, it's important to have support from our supervisors.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty good about keeping it relevant. Whatever my kind of thing I need to talk out with my supervisor, I'm pretty good about keeping it relevant to my job. The service that I'm providing. Sometimes I might have to refer to, okay, this is a little bit of what's going on outside that might be affecting me.
Yeah. So here's another story.
Yeah.
So I do think that you have to give a little bit of yourself, and sometimes you may have to give a little bit of your personal self in order to be effective with even communicating with people, to show them. So I know somebody who had a staff member who were they didn't show up at work one day. And so this particular person, so the staff member had good attendance, it was an awesome employee and stuff. And so the supervisor knew something. They had a notion or sense that something was wrong because this person didn't show up. Well, they went over to this person's house, and this is not part of the supervisor job description. They just showed up at the person's house, the staff member's house, to check on them. Lo and behold, when they went over to the staff member's house, it was a very bad situation. The staff member was at a place where they was about almost dead. Mm-hmm. So the supervisor able to call for help and get the person help, and they're they're living now. But what if he would have stuck to the professional boundaries and would not went over there? This person would have been dead.
You mentioned a fine line,
Yeah.
and I mean, it can be a matter of life and death.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just that's something to keep in mind as well. So, JDD, we are at the end of the show.
All right,
See how
thank
quick
you. Yes.
it goes very quick when you're having a good, productive, and meaningful conversation.
All right, thank you.
So I just want to thank you for being on our show, and I'm sure we will have more conversations in the near future.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And that's it for today's edition of Mental Health Matters. If you like this particular show, or if you would like a DVD copy of this show, or if you would like to be a guest on the show to share your personal story, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.